All right, man. Apparently a lot of talk about Marcus Davenport and Detroit Lions. They had a lot of talk about him. The Lions, I don't think registered one sack versus the Chicago. I mean, versus the Green Bay Packers. They didn't get one sack. And my whole thing about the pass rush was this: three main pass rushers all is returning from injury. Lee McNeil still ain't came back. A. Hutchinson was recovering from a major leg surgery. Um, who else we have? Marcus Davenport was covering, I think, from a season-ending elbow surgery. I think it was last year, and apparently he got some type of issues with the fans and shit. And, I mean, New Orleans people don't like him. Pretty sure Minnesota people don't like him. But they were singing his praises. They were saying, "Hey, man, Davenport, he's doing great things in camp." And that's why I remember back in the day, Mike Marinelli and Steve Mariucci used to coach the team. You hear the line how good the Lions. This is kind of before that joint practice stuff really took off. You'll see how good the Lions look in camp, versus each other. And what you found out was they look good against another bum ass unit, whether it was special teams against each other, whether it was the Lions against the Lions defense, against the Lions offense, or the offense against the defense. What you end up finding out was, you know, um, it didn't matter. They was just trash. One unit was just less trashier than the next. So, um, but we knew it. I mean, we knew it. It's something that they failed to address. They didn't want to spend 20 million on Josh Sweat, and they didn't want to spend 30 and some change in compensation on Trey Hendrickson. Um, they didn't. They tried to move up to get James Pierce. That didn't happen. I think somebody stole Baltimore, stole him. They didn't. They passed up on Mike Green. They drafted a center to B, and then that's a whole different video. Started him at guard, which that's what happened with Frank Ragnow. But what you seen today was pass rush, and then people made a big deal of Calvin Shepard dropping Aiden Hudson, which I didn't really think that was a big a deal as people legit made it. Like people really made it to be a big deal. I didn't see it as a big deal. It was an exotic look. Tried to do something different. Whether Aiden Hutchinson was rushing or not, he was a non-factor today. And you expect him to be a non-factor. He's literally coming off a broken leg. Did y'all expect him to hit the ground running? Davenport, who they signed for like $500,000 on the cheap, he was coming off an elbow injury. He's never like sustained success, and maybe one time in his career he sustained health. So I mean, and then they only had 3 active edges today. Then they kicked O'Connor out to help out a little bit there. Now that's just arrogance. Arrogance. No matter how much you praise Marcus Davenport, through camp and how good he looked. What we seen on game day, Pat O'Connor had more pressures than him. Aiden Hutchinson looked rusty. This all was fucking common sense. This all was common sense. Let's keep it real. This all was common sense. So I told y'all they need to get 2 or 3 people in there as well too. And then, Corey Woods made a good point. Says that Darius Smith in his last few games with the Lions, he only had 5 tackles and 1 pressure, so he wasn't the answer. His play ain't what it used to be. His play ain't what it used to be. But nonetheless, I mean, it's all we thought it was. Will they make a rush move? No, they won't make a rush move. They're probably gonna wait till Lee McNeil get back, wait till Josh Pascal get healthy, and so be it. I'm not, if that's what they choose to be, that's what they choose to do. That's what they choose to do. But they were being cheap and they just refused to go get help. Packers, what was the difference? They got Micah Parsons. He created some pressures. He created some interception issues, and that is what it is. It is what it is, flat out. The Lions will never win a championship. You're hearing it first now. That window is closed. When they had opportunities to get Trey Hendricks, when they had opportunities to get Micah Parsons to really go for it, they refused to go for it. The window's closed. And of course, even with the coordinators that they had last year, it was a little shaky to start off the season about the first 4 weeks of the season. So now you had a new offensive coordinator in there. I mean, what you expect to happen? I mean, honestly, what do you expect to happen? But at the same time, and people getting cocky and like it's the Lions era, it's America's team. No, it ain't. No, it ain't. This is no team to write home about because they're still run by the force and they still frugal. I think they're one of the bottom half, the bottom quarter teams in worth. Not worth much. So they refuse to invest, truly invest into a franchise. You got to remember too, them going to get Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell. Those are cheap hires. I think people tend to forget that. Those were cheap hires. Those wasn't upper echelon hires. They wasn't big name guys. So they just so happened to catch lightning in the bottle. Remember, they didn't let Brad Holmes hire his own guy neither. I think people forgot that they didn't let Brad Holmes hire his own guy as head coach. They paired them together. So being cheap, done the Lions in again. That's a fact. Being cheap done the Lions in again. Ain't nothing new. And people just assume that Aiden Hutchinson will hit the ground running right away. I told y'all that wasn't going to be the case. You got to get over, people rolling up on your leg. You got to get into the swing of things. So he may not be playing at a high level until October, November-ish. And by that time, you're probably going to be making plans for the draft. But they were cheap. This is why it was important to go get a Jadeveon Clowney. Or that's why it was important to go out there and get a Josh Sweat and spend the $20 million on Josh Sweat. See, they would have been able to do that. They would have been able to do that. They wouldn't have been able to do that if, Terrion and Ennis Rackstraw stayed healthy. Therefore, they would have had their two starter corners. That money they gave to DJ Reed, they could have put it in and put it into Josh Sweat, but they didn't want to do it. And then, they don't get Jadeveon, they don't get Matt Judon, they don't get Zadarius Smith. Then they go get these two bums from the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Dallas Cowboys. So how's your, Marcus Davenport experience being, Brad Holmes? And what it boiled down to, why they never win, they cheap. They cheap. That's why they never win. So y'all cross y'all fingers, spending all that money, it's over. That window is closed. They are too cheap. And the real test is going to come from Brad Holmes and his ability to draft a quarterback. But hey, check out Detroit Lions Talk playlist. Thumbs up the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel. Peace.